First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Rokakudash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Hashem means in the name. Rakah means spirit, and Qudash means holy. That's all in the Paleo Hebrew. Also, I give double honor to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how no Edomite will be saved. Okay? No Edomite will be saved. And the reason I'm making this video is because you got this group by the name of Genesis, which is saying that Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18 is a hyperbole. So let's go into what that word hyperbole means first. Hyperbole, exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally, right? So they're saying that this scripture right here is not literal. So let's get ahead and read it, starting at verse 17. It says, "But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh hath spoken it." Right? So that says it pretty clear. It's pretty clear what that's saying. How there's not going to be any Edomites anymore, for Yahweh hath spoken it. Now this group is saying that that's a hyperbole, how that's not supposed to be meant to be taken literally, which they're just going off. And it just seems like, they've taken the bag, because here, literally 2-3 months ago, they were teaching that salvation is only for the Israelites. And now they're teaching that salvation is for all the nations. Which that right there shows you that the Lord's not dealing with them, right? Because your doctrine is not supposed to change. Okay, it's supposed to stay the same. Especially when it comes to a point like that. When it comes to any point, but when it comes to a point so important such as salvation, they're saying that anybody can make it now. And just going back, to their own vomit. Okay, a fool goeth back to his own folly, as a dog goeth back to his own vomit, roughly paraphrasing. So they've gone back to that Christianity that the world has taught them, and have ultimately, it looks like they took the bag. That's the only logical thing as to why they did a 180. But this scripture here is literal. Okay, there is not going to be any remaining Edomites after the 1,000 years of slavery. Okay, even when we jump up to verse 9, I'll start at verse 8. It says, "Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end, that every one of the mounts of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever." Right? So every single Edomite is going to be destroyed forever because of what they did to their brothers. Okay, the Israelites, so-called Latinos, Negroes, and Native Americans as a collective. What they did over here in the Americas was beyond brutal, and they have to pay. All nations are going to pay, but the Edomites are going to get it the worst. To the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And you can see how that shame is covering them today. Right? You ask any Edomite, "Hey, what did your people do to get into power in this land?" And they'll be ashamed, because they know that it was a bunch of wickedness. It was a bunch of deceitfulness. Okay, robbery, rape, pillaging. They took this place, as it says, by the sword. So let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. And I'll start at verse. So first things first is, this is talking about Babylon. Isaiah 14:4. that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? The Lord Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So this whole chapter is talking about this coming destruction of the Edomites. Okay, because the Edomites ruled Babylon the Great, which is America. So when you jump down to verse 19, I'll start at verse 18. It says, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Right, so what do we read in Obadiah? There's a specific lineage that is never going to be brought back again. And they are the seed of evildoers. Right, it says in Psalms that the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go forth as soon as they are born, speaking lies. So every single Edomite, as soon as they are born, they have that wicked intention inside of them. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith Yahweh. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. Right, and that's talking about the thermonuclear destruction of America. And a little tip that lets us know that is when you go into the word besom, it goes into a broom, okay? A brooming agent, a broom, besom. And that's exactly what the nukes are going to do, right? You ever watch a nuclear missile video? You'll see how it drops, and then you see all that dust start flying, from all 360 directions. Okay, that is that broom. Okay, that is that bomb that's gonna sweep this place clean. Okay, so prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. So just because you might be an Edomite today, and let's say you haven't, done what your forefathers have done, you still gotta pay, because you were your forefathers, and that's the key that the world doesn't understand, is that they don't have the concept of reincarnation. You got to pay for what your forefather did because you were your forefather. That was you back then in a different flesh committing all those atrocities. So just because you can't remember doesn't mean it's not true. And it tells us that in Ecclesiastes that there's no remembrance of former things. Ecclesiastes 1 and 11, it says, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. Right, so you can't remember, okay, what you did in your previous life. Okay, the Lord has blocked that insight to majority of people. And there's slips and cracks, because you do have stories of people talk about remembering their past lives, and they have extreme detail when it comes to what they say. And, that's just the exception, but as a majority, okay, you can't remember your past life, but you got to pay. And that's where the whole concept of judgment, I've always heard, oh, but what about a little kid? Why did the Lord take out that little kid? If he was a little kid, he did nothing. That's their judgment, is why would the Lord do that? Well, the answer is reincarnation. That spirit that was in that baby in the previous life did something horrendous, and that was the judgment, is that in his next life as a baby he would be put to death. So that's the only way you can possibly understand judgment, is through reincarnation. But let's get one more scripture. Malachi chapter 1 and verse 1, it says, the burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places, thus saith the Lord of hosts. They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. Right? So the Edomites are the people. Okay, not just Esau, the people against whom the Lord has indignation forever. Let's go into that word indignation. To denounce, express indignation, be indignant, to be aberrant, to show anger, to foam at the mouth, to be enraged, to be angry. Abhor, let's see that word, abhor. Regard with disgust and hatred. Right, so the Lord hates the Edomites, and that's very clear. I love Jacob and I hated Esau. So the conclusion of the matter, Malachi 3 and 6, for I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. The Lord hasn't changed. He said he was going to destroy them, okay, fully destroy them. He's going to do it. He says he hates them, he still hates them. So these Genesis guys are just completely going off, and ultimately the followers that they do end up grabbing up are just not part of the elect. Okay, they are those false prophets, those sheeps, or a wolf in sheep's clothing. So hopefully this was edifying. With that, to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem Rakakudash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone, the time of this truth. Shalom to elect. Shalom.